In a world where everyone was online, Daniel Brooks had never felt more invisible. At 36, he lived in a modest Chicago apartment, surrounded by glowing screens but starved of real connection. Every morning his phone woke him up with a barrage of notifications, life screaming for his attention before he even opened his eyes. He worked in digital marketing, a job built on engagement, likes, and clicks. Ironically, his own life had none of those things. Daniel wasn't dramatically unhappy. There was no single tragedy, no loud heartbreak, just a quiet, steady emptiness that followed him everywhere, like background noise you couldn't turn off. He used to believe life would feel fuller by now. In college, he was the optimistic dreamer. He thought friendships would last forever and love would arrive naturally. Back then, his phone was filled with numbers that actually rang, and friends dropped by unannounced. Now his phone was full, but silent. His parents lived in another state. They talked every few weeks. His old friends were busy with marriages, kids, and careers. Group chats existed, but real conversations didn't. Evenings were the hardest. Daniel would come home, drop his bag, and sit on the couch, scrolling endlessly, watching other people live their lives. Engagements, promotions, family dinners. Everyone looked so happy. "Maybe something's wrong with me," he whispered one night into the quiet of his apartment. One rainy Thursday, everything changed. Daniel had stayed late at work fixing a campaign that didn't really matter. By the time he left, the streets were soaked, lights reflecting off the pavement like broken mirrors. At the subway entrance, he noticed an elderly man sitting on a bench holding a cardboard sign. He wasn't begging. The sign simply read, "I don't need money, just someone to talk to." Daniel slowed down. Normally, he would have walked past. He always did. But something about that sentence felt uncomfortably familiar. He hesitated. Then he sat down. "Rough night?" Daniel asked. The man smiled gently. "Every night can be rough if you're alone long enough." His name was Arthur. 72, a retired librarian. "My wife passed 5 years ago," Arthur said. "After that, people slowly disappeared. Not because they're cruel, just busy." Daniel nodded. He understood completely. They talked for 20 minutes. About books, about how the city had changed, about how quiet life becomes when no one asks how your day was. When Daniel stood to leave, Arthur said, "Thank you for seeing me." Those words stayed with Daniel all night. The next week, he came back. Then again. Soon Thursdays became their routine. Daniel found himself looking forward to those conversations more than anything else in his week. One evening, Arthur asked, "Why do you keep coming back?" Daniel thought for a moment, "'Cause it feels real." Arthur chuckled. "That's something people are starving for these days." As weeks turned into months, something shifted inside Daniel. He started noticing people more. He smiled at strangers. He put his phone down during meals and called his parents more often. One Sunday, Arthur didn't show up. Daniel waited, a sinking feeling growing in his chest. The next day, he learned Arthur had collapsed from a mild stroke. He was alive, but in recovery. Daniel visited him at the hospital. Arthur looked smaller in the bed, but his eyes lit up. "I was afraid no one would come," Arthur admitted. Daniel swallowed hard. "You're not invisible, not to me." During Arthur's recovery, Daniel helped him with groceries and appointments. It wasn't a burden, it felt meaningful. For the first time in years, Daniel felt needed. Arthur, in return, gave him perspective. Arthur said one afternoon, "I spent years thinking my best days were behind me." Connection doesn't care about age or timing. Inspired, Daniel started a small online project called Still Here, a page where people could share stories of loneliness and kindness. Stories poured in from teenagers, parents, and seniors, all lonely in the same way. Daniel began organizing small meets in coffee shops and parks. Strangers met, talked, and laughed. Phones stayed in pockets. At one meet, a woman named Rachel sat across from him. She was recently divorced, struggling with the silence in her apartment. They talked easily, honestly. Weeks later, they were still talking. Months later, they were walking together, no rush. A year later, Arthur attended one of the gatherings, leaning on a cane but smiling proudly. "We built something beautiful," he said. Daniel shook his head. "We did." That night, Daniel stood in his apartment, now filled with laughter and warmth. His phone buzzed with invitations, not just notifications. He finally understood something powerful. Loneliness isn't a personal failure, it's a human signal. And connection begins the moment someone chooses to stay. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Tales Studio for more powerful stories about life and connection. Thanks for watching.